Hey, this is John Mark, the pastor at Cottonwood Creek. Welcome back to the podcast, and we are blessed to be joined today on the podcast by Trisha Cunningham, and she is the President and CEO of the North Texas Food Bank. Trisha, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, John Mark. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Hey, Trisha, tell us a little bit about yourself. We're blessed here at Cottonwood Creek to have a relationship with North Texas Food Bank, but our relationship with you has gone even way further than that. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, my husband, Greg, and I and our two kids moved up here from the Houston area back in 1999, and we were looking for a place to go to church, and it ended up that Cottonwood was where it's at, and we've just really loved and enjoyed. And, this was back whenever we were back at First Baptist Fairview.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite songs when we walked into the gymnatorium was playing, and I was like, okay, this is a sign that this is where we are supposed to be. And, I've just loved our time here at Cottonwood. But, I worked for TI for 30 years.
30 years at TI.
I was 30 years, and I graduated. So I made an intentional move to graduate from TI after 30 years. And, my journey to the food bank, I would just call it really more of a God thing.
Right.
I never anticipated that I would be working at the food bank, but I just continued to feel like I needed to do something beyond TI. Yeah. I had had the very great privilege to be exposed globally to so many issues that were in the community, and my last role at TI was in public affairs. Right. And we invested in the community and tried to solve some of these problems, and I wanted to be on the front line of being able to help solve some of these issues. And so I made that intentional move to leave TI 4 years ago. Yeah. In December of 2016 was my graduation party. And I didn't know it was going to be the food bank that I ended up landing at. But again, God's timing, the very beloved CEO at the food bank at the time had unfortunately had a terminal illness with cancer, and she passed away in January of that year, and the board was going to be doing a search, and I had turned down a few other positions before, but had worked with a search firm that was doing this search, and they said, we think this is the right job for you. I had other people in the community say this is the right job for you. And if I just sort of rewind even further than that, back whenever I was in college, God was already planting the seeds. Right. Because I was the staff administrative assistant for a brand new program on campus. I was working as I was going through school, and this paid more than a student worker, and I had admin skills, so I signed up for it. But the program was to train college students on how to be executive directors of nonprofit organizations.
Wow.
And so you sort of think about that, and I've served on nonprofit boards for probably more than 15 years, and that experience and the experience that I was able to have at TI and everything that I have learned in those 30 years is being applied today. So God has been preparing me for this opportunity my whole lifetime.
I love that in so many ways because, as a pastor, first of all, I remember those days for you, and you were very clear you were not retiring. You were graduating to something else. You didn't know what God had for you, and that's kind of an interesting thing to just trust God and follow God, but to also realize, every experience that God has given you, even all the way back to your college days, prepared you for this. Right. And even as we're going to talk in a few minutes ago, even this moment, where we are right now as a country, and certainly even as as Collin County and our North Dallas area, where we are with needing to feed the hungry and meet the needs. It's just awesome to see how God, you are using all the skills and gifts that you learn not only educationally but at TI and your leadership skills. Now you're using it to bring to bear the connection of those in need and those who can provide.
That's right. In my office, on the wall, I have love your neighbor as yourself. Huh. And that is because every day whenever I walk into my office, that's my mission.
Right.
And I'm doing that by providing hope through food. And I just always have to keep those that we're serving at the center. And every decision that we make has to be, is it helping us to better serve those people who are in need? We have to feed the sheep.
That's right. And it's so important for all of us to remember that, so you're in ministry just like I am. And that sometimes people say, well, the pastor's in ministry, somebody's not. I will tell you, I see your ministry and your skills and your gifts utilized in God's kingdom in such a way that that should be an encouragement to all of us, that God uses all of our skills that we learn both in His house and in the world, and to meet the needs of others. Now, as we kind of transition to the North Texas Food Bank, our staff was out there a couple of weeks ago, and we served on the line and created a bunch of food baskets for people to eat, and I was utterly amazed at what was going on out there. So tell us a little bit about the North Texas Food Bank.
Well, and John Mark, you're not the only one. Usually we have people, when they come out, that's like, I had no idea.
No idea.
Most people think about the North Texas Food Bank that it's just going to be a giant food pantry.
Right.
That's really not what we are. We are a nonprofit logistics organization. And I say nonprofit food logistics organization because you can think about what we do very similar to maybe what a Kroger might do. They're going to have distribution warehouses. But we've had people from Kroger on our board, and they said, but your job is even more difficult because so much of our food isn't just purchased. We have donated food that sometimes we don't know what's coming in the door or when it's coming in the door or what the shelf life is going to be.
Right.
So it actually creates even greater challenges. We have a 230,000 square foot facility.
It was huge.
In Plano.
It was huge.
It's huge. And so we have, it's our volunteer and distribution center. We have about 30 trucks, 4 semis, plus some leased ones now due to COVID and the needs. We serve 13 counties, 10,000 square feet. We have it's about a $200 million per year operation.
Wow.
And in those 13 counties, we work primarily through partner agencies. We gather food through donations, think food retailers, food growers, food manufacturers, whereas a bulk of it comes through. Canned food drives, that's about 7 or 8% of what we have come in. Right now we're relying a lot on some government resources, and many of those are going away, unfortunately, at the end of the year. But we feel like some more of that's going to come back. So we gather all that food, we put it in our warehouse, and then we have about 250 or more partner agencies that not only are we 80% of our food goes through them, we are also 80% of their food sources. So you can think about some of the organizations here like Allen Community Outreach or Frisco Family Services or North Texas Community Ministries. So many of them, and many of them are faith-based organizations.
Right.
As well, that we provide that food. And then we also have our direct services. We have mobile pantry distributions. Many people have seen the one that we've done at Fair Park.
Right.
And where we fed 25,000 people in a matter of hours, and lines of cars. And I can tell you, people do not sit in a car overnight to be able to get a $20 box of food.
Right.
They just don't do that. The needs are just crazy right now. But, you've had distributions here.
Yeah, right here
Cottonwood
at
Creek.
and boy, we have been blessed to have them right here in the parking lot, and that's been it's been amazing to us, even in this quote bubble we live in. The numbers of people that just came to our parking lot to be fed by a North Texas Food Bank truck, and just our volunteers showed up. Y'all brought the food, and we made it happen. That was great.
I think people are so surprised, especially even here in Collin County. We serve 13 counties. We go all the way up to the Oklahoma border.
Okay.
We go a couple of counties down south of Dallas, including Dallas. We go out east towards Kaufman, out in that area, Rockwall in that area. There's another food bank to the east of us, and then there's one to the west of us. But we have 13 counties. The 13 counties that we serve have the 5th highest number of people who are food insecure in the entire country.
Okay, so that's amazing. First of all, I didn't know that y'all served 13 counties. Mm-hmm. So this is, I knew you served a lot. I didn't realize it was 13 counties. So here's a question. Here at the church, we're always involved in missions, doing different things, and this year has changed everything. When we go back to March, we've changed the way we do missions. We've changed a lot of things. We still do missions. We just have to do it in a different way. We still feed the hungry. We just have to do it in a different way. So we've had to change our ministry and the way we operate in the mission field significantly since COVID hit. My guess is that at the North Texas Food Bank, you had to make some pivots in how y'all met the needs of the people. Tell us a little bit of some of the changes that had to come y'all's way because of COVID.
Everything. It would be probably easier to tell you what didn't change because we rely on about 40,000 volunteers per year.
Yeah.
Typically to be able to help us to kit those boxes and do food sorting and all these kind of things that we have in our volunteer area. When COVID hit, we literally had corporate representatives meeting their employees at the door and said, I'm sorry, we're sending you home to work so that you're safe, and so we can't allow you to come together at the food bank. And so we were going to need to increase the amount of labor that we had because we needed to safely distribute boxes of food. We typically would take pallets of food, send them to some of these nonprofit organizations that have the feeding programs, and they may have like their own little grocery store that people could go and shop. Well, they couldn't do that either. That wasn't going to be safe. And so we put together a nutritionally balanced box of food that would have staples that would help families at least have a couple of weeks of items that they could supplement what they would have. Well, that required boxes, so that was an additional cost. That required specific items of food, so we couldn't just rely on what was coming in through the food door. We had to make sure that we had low sodium vegetables and fruit in its own juices and grains and starches and canned meats and proteins to be able to put these boxes together and then supplement with produce and protein. And so we had to change everything, and we had to also figure out how do we do this in a socially distanced way that's allowing for the people that are coming in to be able to be safe. So we had to be innovative. So sometimes crisis makes you go into innovation, and so we worked with a company called ShiftSmart that had an online technology to be able to schedule workers. We worked with the Communities Foundation of Texas, who had a fund that they set up. And we devised a pilot program, something called Get Shift Done. And it was focused at
I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
That it had to be focused on hospitality workers primarily.
Right.
And we had some of those organizations that had donated to the fund. But they knew that they were going to be struggling whenever the restaurants closed down and so many of the arenas were shut down.
Right.
People were going, and this is a very fragile community, even as it stands. They were making it week to week, but to not have income really put them in crisis mode. And what we know is that most families can't withstand more than a $400 unexpected expense before they go into crisis mode.
Right.
So this was hiring them through a fund at the Communities Foundation that donors had contributed to come in and help us work and to be able to do those boxes. And it's been great. We're continuing to use that today, and the program is actually scaled nationally now.
Really?
Nationally. Yeah.
So you've kind of met two needs. You met the family's need who needed work,
Right.
and then you meet the needs of those who are food insecure.
Right, correct. So
and it's called Get Shift Done.
Get Shift Done.
I love that.
Say that very slowly and carefully.
Yeah, I'm better as a pastor. I'm better, but I will tell you, I love it, and I may use it somewhere with my staff because that's amazing. You know, as we think about hungry people in Collin County, I think that people are often surprised that people are hungry just locally around us. Talk to us a little bit about the food insecurity that people face out there. You mentioned that most families are about $400 away from a crisis, and probably many far closer to crisis than that. But talk a little bit about those that are food insecure in our area.
So most people before COVID hit, hunger was hidden.
Yeah.
You didn't really know it. It might have been the person checking you out at the grocery store or maybe your favorite waiter, and they just needed a little extra help, so they would actually be food insecure. They weren't able to make everything. Or even college students. We have so many college students that are trying to get their education that they don't have enough funds to be able to make it and on their own and still be able to go to school. So food insecurity just really means that you are not certain if you're going to have enough food to be able to put on your table or for that of your children in a month's time. But before COVID, most people didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But we have just seen just the growth. We are distributing twice as much food now as we used to. Overall, in the 13 counties we serve, there are about 900,000 people that regularly don't know if they're going to have dinner on their table.
Yeah.
Here in Collin County, it's about almost 15% of the people in Collin County now are food insecure. And it's reaching every zip code. It's that, person down the street that unexpectedly lost their job. I can guarantee that most everyone that's watching this broadcast knows someone that has been unemployed, or maybe it's a friend of one of your children, or maybe it's someone that's even watching this broadcast
Yep.
that's wondering, how am I going to make ends meet right now?
Yeah.
And that's what we do at the food bank. We want, in our food pantries, is we really want to be there just to provide a little extra help for those people that need it right now. But it's every zip code, and it's more visible now than it ever has been.
Ever has been. You know, as if someone is watching this and they are food insecure, or we know someone that's we all know someone, right? What would be your recommendation to them to tell someone who is food insecure? What would be your recommendation to them?
Go to our website,
Okay.
ntfb.org. And on the very front page of the website, if you scroll down, you can type in your zip code, and it will give you a list of the community food pantries that are near you. I always recommend people go to those community food pantries, and the reason why is they not only help you by giving you access to food, but so many of them have other services like career counseling or financial assistance, like for rent, or if you're having problems paying for your medications. Some of them are plugged into other resources that can also holistically help the needs of those families.
Wow.
You can also see when our next mobile distributions are as well. We keep a schedule of that on our website too, so people can see when one may be coming to their area.
And coming to their area, and they just go find it,
And
just
they
like
can
Cottonwood Creek or
exactly.
somewhere else.
Exactly.
And they can show up there. You know, as even before the pandemic hit, we were very specific here at Cottonwood Creek, and so this is kind of to us. We were very wanting to meet the needs of the community, but we've even gotten more specific in how we help and where we help. I think it's helped us to become more laser focused on what really matters. As a pastor of a church, I'd love to know what kind of impact are we making as a church, Cottonwood Creek.
Well, number one, I started thinking about knowing that we were going to be coming on this podcast and having this conversation, and your strategy changed before even the pandemic hit. Yeah. You decided this year that you really wanted to focus in on some of those organizations that you knew were having a significant impact across the community. So we received our first donation from Cottonwood Creek and the membership here back in February, before the pandemic hit. And this is just a God thing again. And then Cottonwood and the membership has stepped up a few other times through that. So overall, just this year, Cottonwood and its members has provided over 84,000 meals into our community, over 130 volunteer hours through the staff volunteer activity, the mobile distributions, and others that we've had throughout that. And just the partnership has really helped. Justin Hill House sat on our annual Collin County Peanut Butter Drive Committee. And Cottonwood Creek was the number one in the faith-based organizations. Not that we're competitive or anything.
Well, it's good to win, though.
It's good to win. And this is a good win, right?
Yeah, right.
So you provided 8,000
That's a lot
pounds
of peanut butter.
For our community. But that is one of the things that we put in a lot of the backpacks that we do for kids. We distribute between 12 and 16,000 backpacks per week into our community for kids that may not have access to food over the weekend. And that's also right here in Collin County. We have school pantries in Collin County for families, because we know if that kid is food insecure, that the family is.
Right.
And so how do we make sure that we can feed those families too? And so we partner with school districts as well to take care of the kids.
And as I look back as the pastor, you always, certainly we all, we hate where we are in this pandemic. But it was really in November or December last year, a year ago, that we were making some decisions about ministry and specifically missions ministry, what we were going to do and where we were going to, and we made a shift that 2020, we were going to focus on some key leaders that were really on the front lines of meeting needs. And like you said, North Texas Food Bank was it. And you got our first check in February. None of us had any idea, that COVID and coronavirus was coming and going to change not only our country but the world. And so God had already set in place for us where we needed to redirect our assets. That way, when the people of Cottonwood Creek stepped up and the church stepped up, we already knew where it was going. We had already written the first check. It was just more to come, and then more opportunities as well. So
yeah, it has been fantastic. Again, just another thing. And I mean, even looking back at the food bank, we have been in our facility 2 years, that 230,000 square foot. Before, we were in an 85,000 square foot facility. And if that path had not been there and we hadn't built that building, we couldn't serve twice as much food.
You couldn't do it
as we've done.
Right.
I mean, it's been incredible. We provided access. Our fiscal year ends in June. We provided access to 97 million meals last year, and most of the increase was in that last quarter. Whenever we were serving for COVID, just between March and the end of September, we've provided more than 70 million meals just in that time period. And so the way that we've shifted
between March and October.
Between March and end of September and October. Over 70 million meals.
70 million meals.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the amount of volume that we're able to do now because the resources have been provided.
Wow.
And so we're just, that's our prayer for people that want to pray, is just pray that we'll continue to have the resources. I will tell you, our elected officials really stepped up this year, and this is across the aisle. We are nonpartisan at the food bank. We have to work with all elected officials across our community, but I can tell you I have not met with one that wants people in their area to go hungry.
Right.
And they're seeing it today. And so we've made appeals to the federal government, to the state government, local government, and they've been able to work with us and come through. I never in my lifetime expected that I would have more than 250 members of the National Guard in formation on my parking lot at the North Texas Food Bank to be able to help us with this hunger crisis. But I can tell you, we would have not been able to meet the needs without their assistance, with all the volunteers going away and needing people to safely distribute food. So everyone has come together. Our community is very giving and very caring. And people ask me often, what have you learned through this whole COVID crisis?
Right.
And I said, my faith in humanity is restored. Yeah. While there's been so much divisiveness through politics and racial inequities and all that, I can tell you I'm a believer in people because we've seen them step up to help take care of their neighbors time and time again.
I love that, and I was glad you brought that image back to my mind. I remember seeing those images when you had to send the volunteers away but the National Guard standing there, the Texas.
They were there.
It was just, I remember that image, and as you bring it back up, that's amazing. So as we close, one of the things we've done a lot. People of Cottonwood Creek have done a lot. Many others, well beyond us, have done a lot. So how can we help going forward? Where can we give? How can we have the greatest impact?
So right now, contributions are the best way. 95% of all of our resources goes directly to feeding programs. So we try to run with low overhead so we can try to get as much food out to the community as we possibly can. $1 provides access to 3 meals. I can't feed my family 3 meals for $1. But a lot of that has to do because of the fact that we're able to acquire donations of food to be able to provide that. And also, we buy in bulk. We buy by the semi-truckloads. And COVID alone, we're bringing in an additional 90 semi-truckloads of food per month just to take care of those increased demands because of COVID. So contributions help us. We right now, most of our government funding is going away at the end of December, actually to the levels before COVID started.
Pre-COVID.
Yes. So we're purchasing food today so that we have it. There's a 6 to 8 week lead time. We're purchasing food today for January, February. And so those contributions help us to be able to do that. So that's number one. Secondly, give your time. We are opening back up for volunteers. We don't have the fund for Get Shift Done forever.
Right.
And we are going to transition back to volunteers. So we right now on Fridays and Saturdays, we have volunteer opportunities at our warehouse. But every day, our mobile distributions are volunteer based. We have leaders out there that tell people what to do. But my family spent weeks really volunteering out at those mobile distributions, in particular this summer whenever we had lower volunteers.
Right.
And we were out there doing that. So those are their second thing.
I remember seeing those pictures of the Cunningham family making it happen.
They were. And, whenever I came to the food bank, I told them, I said, you don't just get me, you get my family too. Yep. They're committed right here with me. And they've definitely proven that time and time again. Wow. And so, donate dollars, donate your time, donate food. If you prefer to tangibly donate, I would just ask that you do it in bulk, like a particular item, because that just helps us from having to sort the dates on the cans and different types of items into different things. But if you do a food drive and you want to do peanut butter, or you want to do canned tuna, or you want to do corn or green beans or whatever it might be, we love that. We have at our facility at 3677 Maple Shade in Plano.
There you go.
We have a canned food drive door there that you can bring it and you can be able to drop it there. And then finally, give your voice. This doesn't take any money, just takes a little time.
Right.
Just let your elected officials know that you want them to be able to support programs and policies that are going to help make sure that people have the food that they need on their tables.
That's right. That's so good to hear as you talk about the ministry as a whole, North Texas Food Bank. 95% of everything given basically goes actually to feeding. Low overhead, love that. $1 provides access to 3 meals, and that's amazing work that y'all do. So I want to encourage everybody to give. You can either give through Cottonwood. 100% of everything you give towards food goes to North Texas Food Bank, or give straight to them. You can go to their website and just click give. When I was there that day, the lady at the front was taking a consistent line of calls, helping people know how to give and talk even what to give. And I love what you just said. Is it doesn't help a lot. It doesn't help in the overall scheme of things to bring a couple of cans of this and a couple of cans of that. If you're going to raise something, bring bulk of one item, because that helped us when we as a staff were making it, is that, okay, we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
And
we actually have a couple from my Sunday school class that is coming out on Friday, and they are going to be dressed as Santa and Mrs. Claus, and they're bringing their grandchildren as an object lesson, and they are purchasing a pallet of breakfast bars.
Okay.
And they're bringing it to the food bank because they want to instill that spirit of giving with their grandchildren.
Yeah.
And that I just love that. I love the object lesson of that, and I love that they're involving their kids, because we love our tiny philanthropists, because we know that they're going to grow up to be caring adults.
That's right. That's right. You know, I like the get shift done. That sounds like something I'm ready to put on our website, and I can do it because of you. Because we're always looking to change things up.
Yeah.
And maybe that can be part of our strategy as we journey forward into 2021. Is one of the things we'll do. We'll identify some volunteer times, and it'll be Cottonwood Creek's Get Shift Done hour. Trisha, thanks so much for joining us and telling us about North Texas Food Bank. Thanks for what you do. And just, man, how such a time as this, that's what I kind of feel like. You're the right person in the right place doing what you're doing. You have any closing words?
I'd just like to say thanks to everyone who's watching, and we appreciate your prayers and support. Hunger is the most basic of needs, and if we can fulfill those needs, then they're open to other opportunities that may come their way as well. So thank you to everyone. It's truly our team at the food bank cares, and they're focused on our mission, and we will responsibly use any kind of support that is provided to us.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Thank you so much, Trish. Thank you all for joining us today. Please be willing to share this podcast. God bless. Have a great day.